black pastel. We're going to drink black pastel Cypress without the yellow belly. You see the difference between that one and this one?
Mm-hmm. Look at, come here, I want to see it. Look at that.
She's like, let me go over here.
So that's without the yellow belly.
That's without the yellow belly.
She was.
Yep. Pretty, isn't it? Could you imagine taking care of these snakes?
By myself.
By yourself? Yes?
It will be a little bit some harder, but a little bit easier. Because all you have to do is put them somewhere in the new bin, and then you just need to watch them, clean their poop, and then just grab them and put them back in. So simple.
Okay.
Happy Saturday, everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to episode 69 of Reptiles and Cocktails. I am feeling amazing today. Today I have an amazing guest, someone that I have the pleasure to speak to in person a few times, someone that I chat with. But today I get to kind of drill into more of what he does and more of to what he has, been in experience in the hobby and what the future looks like for the ball python project. So yes, we have Matt. Super excited to have Matt today. I will also add that yesterday I was doing a video for clutch pulling, and as I was in the middle of the video putting one snake back, and I said, let me just check on the other snake. And it ended up being a double clutch pull. And so yesterday I had two clutches hit at the same time. So far I'm 100% on every female that I bred to in 2022, late 2022. All of them have laid early 2023, some of which already have, as you know, don't count the retics. They bred themselves. I would like to take credit for the successful breeding of T'Challa and Hefe and their beautiful babies, but they made their own date. So I can't count them, but the ball python clutches are all me. And all of them are so far have at least hit and only one slug in all of the clutches. And I'm just hoping and praying that we all continue to have healthy babies, such as the very strong retic clutch that we are caring for right now. So with that being said, I just thank everybody for all your support. I thank you for everything that you guys have taught me along the way. I thank you to all the retic breeders. I'm going to shout them out right now. Matt Oakley, of course, Jim Jolly, oh my God, the snake father, Claudius. Those three have been amazing. The clutch produces so many varieties of that combination. I was expecting to see a few combinations because I know that my girl was a powerhouse. So I expected to see a few combinations, but I was not expecting to see all that came out in those eggs. And I definitely wasn't expecting to hit so many supers. And then some of them had other looks to them that wasn't familiar to myself. So I had to hit up 3 different breeders, because even the breeder himself, he can only speak to the things that he's seen those combinations produced and, things, but there are some things that, combos that people hadn't seen before. So putting the 3 of those hands together, they've been very helpful with me identifying some of the very unique animals in their clutch. And that was important to me, because when they do go off market, I want to make sure that you're getting all the genes that we know are there. And if there's anything that's there that we don't know of, you're getting the come up on that, not me. So I want to make sure that, but I do want to make sure that the value of the snake is posted initially as what it should be. Good morning. Keys was here first, and Keisha was right behind him, Matt. So we're going to bring on our guests right now, and then we'll go through the comments and just kind of welcome everyone in so Matt can see who's there as well. There he goes.
How you doing?
I'm Matt. So for those of you who don't know, this is Matt from the Ball Python Project. Matt is a breeder in Pennsylvania. Now, you were born and raised in Pennsylvania?
Well, yeah, sort of. So my dad was in the military, so I was actually born in Frankfurt, Germany, but was moved over here when I was like 2. Had 2 open heart surgeries from birth. But long story short, yeah, I've lived in Reading, Pennsylvania most of my life. Recently moved up towards Hamburg, which is right outside of the Reading area.
Now, speaking of, see how Matt just grazed over there? Matt is really good with just moving on past it. 2 open heart surgeries. You know I'm reversing.
Okay.
As a person who always say, you never know when you have to go through things. There's 2 things that I say that I hope I never have to go through. And I've had a lot of surgeries. Heart surgery and brain surgery. How old were you when you had the first heart surgery? First
heart surgery was 2 months old. And then the second was a corrective kind of surgery at 2 years of age. And then I had one when I was like 18 to kind of continue. So my aorta was narrowing. So it's coarctation of the aorta. And so they just had to kind of go in and do an actual chest open surgery or open chest surgery. And did that twice. But the last one was just like a shunt that went up through my artery, through my leg up into my heart. And they just kind of like reopened it a bit. So, I wasn't really engaged or aware of what was going on at that time, so it's probably easy for me.
You're not, because you're out, and I get that. But what happens after that? Like I have my cousin's husband had open heart surgery at a very later age. I mean, not later. He was in his 30s, and then Jaffe had open heart surgery. But when I hear people say that, like, how do you go through life? Because I don't know if y'all watch football, but if you remember a couple of years ago, Cypress Jones, he played for the New England Patriots. He went to the Denver Broncos. He's from Baltimore. I went to school with his dad. And when he went to Denver, he couldn't play the whole season because of a heart defect that he had when he was young. So then he had to stop playing football, have this major surgery. Like it was it was based on something that he has in childhood. But for me, the courage to play football, knowing that you have this heart defect, like, does that play on your thoughts at all, or you just feel like it happened? I don't even think about my heart anymore.
Well, it goes 2 ways, because like growing up, I was only allowed to technically by like doctor's orders play like baseball, non-contact sports. So I wasn't allowed to play formal kind of like football. I could play basketball. I wasn't allowed to play hockey or wrestle or any of that, but it didn't really stop me from doing it. As a kid growing up and having 2 brothers and just, my single mom, like we went out of the house, we did what we wanted, and it didn't matter as long as I made it back by like the time the street lights went out. I was good, but I played contacts, football, hockey, whatever I wanted to do. I kind of did, skateboarded, and I'd play hours on end. So it didn't really affect me mentally. I just went for it. Like I didn't really care too much about keeping too much regard on the situation.
Right.
But again, if I was out there, I'd tell some people like, hey, look, I have a heart defect or whatever, heart condition, and just if you're gonna hit me, just take me down, I'll go down, but stuff like that. But I wasn't too cautious at all. I mean, I just kind of ran with stuff.
Curious, just wondered, because you just kind of like, just normal life, 2 heart surgeries,
yeah,
and I just kept it going.
Into my teenage years too, like I abused my body in other ways with like alcohol and like smoking and stuff. But so I grew up like a normal teenager and I guess kid in the city, so just did my own thing, didn't care, no regards. What's that?
I said the body is way stronger than you think, because you had that, like you said, you still had your normal teenage stuff that we all did, and then nothing occurred, and you're still going strong today. Now, did any of that pass on to any of your children?
Yep, my son. So my son, my wife went in for an ultrasound, and they started looking at like the baby's heart as he was developing towards the end there, and they thought he had one condition, and he ended up, once he was born, he could have looked blue, as they call it, like he would have been like a blue baby, but his heart actually, it's crazy, his heart grew these extra like vessels and ventricles and stuff like that, which helped his heart work better. Over time, he's had multiple surgeries to correct those, but he had he has tetralogy of Fallot, which is, it's like a even more extreme condition than anything I dealt with. So he's been through multiple surgeries already, but he's going on 16 this year. So my kids are 16 and 13, 2 big years for their birthdays, I guess. So he'll be driving soon and hopefully not acting as wild as I did at that age, but yeah, so it passed on to my son again. So I believe genetically, I guess, you know, it's probably something.
Yeah, and that's the things. That's the importance of women to really pay attention to who your baby daddy is. Like sometimes when I be watching some of them shows, and the women just, you know, pinning fathers on people and things like that. And the most important thing is genetically, if that person has any issues growing up later, and they go to trace back the family, you really screw that person from a doctor knowing, oh, your father had this. Oh, this is an easy thing to know to go look for. It happened when I had to take my nephew a couple of years. I mean, it was last year. If y'all can remember, I did a podcast literally from a emergency room because my sister was out of town. My nephew had passed out and they had rushed him to the ER. So we got there. Now I'm the only one. I'm an hour and 10 minutes away from him. So I get there and I go in there and the doctor starts to ask questions. She asked about his father who is deceased. And I explained to him his father died of a brain tumor. Instantly, everything shifted. Like all the tests and stuff that they were doing, they knew exactly what to test. So we're thinking heart stuff. They said, brain. Went straight to the brain. And then knew what course of action to take after that. But if they didn't have that, like, do we even know they would have been able to find out what was wrong with them? Could they even tie the ailment? Because, you know, a lot of times that's wrong what they're looking at anyway. So when did you come here? And then at what age was it that you got into Pennsylvania?
So I was 2 years old. We moved into the house that my mom bought off of her aunt and uncle with my dad. And then they split up when I was about 2 years old. So it wasn't much longer after we got back from coming from Germany to Pennsylvania is when they split up or whatever. So ever since I was 2, I lived in Pennsylvania my whole life, basically the same county. I haven't moved outside of this county other than when I would be visiting my dad at times and staying there for whatever, a month or so.
And then your herping started in Pennsylvania, which is probably one of the best places to start herping. Yeah.
Yep. So as a kid, my mom she took us to like this one park and they had what we called hop toads. I don't know what species of frog it is or toad, but they're like the size of your fingernail. And there would be thousands of them out there and we collect them and take them home. Like every other probably kid in this industry did at some point, is collect animals and bring them home. But she allowed us to keep stuff like that in like the backyard. Then we would return them or they die. I don't know. But we had, like a box turtle growing up. And then during the 90s, like the late 80s and 90s, Ninja Turtles was a huge thing. So we got red-eared sliders. And then my mom allowed us to have like a small aquarium. Firebelly newts, firebelly toads were kind of a cool thing at the time. So we had those. And I would go out. We lived in the city, right? So then like so I believe it's the north or the east side is like a whole hillside. And there's a little bit, a few lakes out and around. And then the Schuylkill River runs to like the south or the west. I don't know the whole direction, but kind of parallel with the mountainside. So we would go to the woods, we would adventure out, and ride our bikes to wherever we could to go fishing or find crayfish, salamanders, all sorts of stuff when we were kids. But my first purchase reptile was pretty cool. I was 13 years old. My mom was able to kind of give me and my twin brother like $100 or something like that for a birthday. We turned 13. It was like this big deal. $100 was a lot of money back in '98, right? And so we went down. I wanted to get a pet. I wanted to get something cool, right? Like a snake or something. And so we went down to this place called Homer's Pet Paradise. It was down at 10th and I think it was like 10th and it wasn't 10th and Spring, something like that. But there was multiple. I think Boots Pet Shop went in after that. But went down there and he had this huge, like, it was like an 8x8 room, like right in the front. And I remember looking in there like, I want one of those. And there was like this netting. And he had these Egyptian Mastics, like all adult Egyptian Mastics, just hanging on this netting. And I was like, I wanted one of those. They had this long spiky tail. And I'm like, I need that. And I think they were listed at like $100 or something like that. So it left me like, I needed an extra $30 to get the sand, the heat lamp, and the tank. It was like a 40-gallon tank or something like that at the time. So my mom gave me a little extra. She'd always help out when she could. So I went home with an Egyptian Mastics that day at 13 back in 1998. And like, that was it, like kind of from there on out with reptile collecting or animal collecting, other than the dogs, you know, family dogs. But yeah, after that was kind of it for a little while.
And then when did you say, I'm going to buy snakes and breed snakes? When did that become a reality for you?
So my wife and I moved into a house. We lived in a couple apartments, and then we moved into a house finally. That was like, when was that? 2010 or 11, somewhere around there. And at some point during like a work day or in a construction area kind of, I found a box turtle. So I brought that home. I'm kind of slouching here. I brought that home and we kind of had that as a pet for a little while. So it was like my kid's first introduction into like having a pet reptile or something other than dogs. And one day I was going to get something at like, I think it was like a Petco or a PetSmart. And I go in and I like looking at all the animals. I've always been fascinated with animals since I was a kid. All types of animals, it doesn't matter. So I went in there and I saw this thing called a piebald ball python, and it was listed for like $400. And I'm like, oh my God, that thing is insane looking. It's incredible. And I ended up calling my brother Tim because he had a ball python at one point. And I'm like, hey, did you ever hear of a piebald ball python? He's like, yeah. He was like, go on Morph Market. And I'm like, okay. And I knew he wasn't a breeder. He was kind of a small collector at the time. I go on and that was it. I look up ball pythons and then I just was like, oh my gosh, it was like, at the time, it was probably like 60 to 80 morphs or something. And I started going on there and I started looking, and that was it. As soon as I saw the piebald, I even almost bought that piebald, but I believe it was a male and it was like $400, which wasn't bad at the time. But I didn't know if I wanted to spend $400 of our money on a pet snake at the time. So I did some research and found some stuff online. And then I went to the local Hamburg Reptile show, which is a big show here in East Coast Pennsylvania anyway. A lot of people show up for a small venue, but it was kind of cool. So that's
Hamburg used to be one of my favorite shows to come to. If I didn't go anything else, I would come to Hamburg. But I must say, I actually like Oaks better than Hamburg.
It's getting better. So Oaks used to be pretty crappy too. It was even smaller, I believe, than Hamburg. Had almost basically the same amount of vendors in. And I hadn't gone there because it's like an hour drive. I hadn't gone there for a few years, and I went recently and I was like, wow, okay, I guess I should vend this one, right? So I picked up a table back in March, but they were in a smaller hall again, but then they had a second open room for all the extra breeders. So there's still a lot more space than they used to. But yeah, Oaks came kind of a far way over the last maybe 4 or 5 years from what it was.
Yeah, so
really
I
nice.
had never went to Oaks. I used to only go to Hamburg out of the PA ones until, well, no, I went to the one in York too before they stopped before. But Hamburg was the must. Like we were scheduled to go and take a trip to Hamburg. Recently, and I think we might have talked about that when we were together recently. My concern with Hamburg is the sale of the venomous and the handling of them. It's not just a thing about, children carrying them sometimes, but the biggest part for me is that it's the policy says that once you buy the damn gaboon, you're supposed to leave the place.
Yep.
It's not enforced like it used to be. Like people have
Okay.
went and got food, set the gaboon down next, like come on. I mean, and I'm all for gaboons. Like, come on.
I probably have too much of a tunnel vision when I'm there to really notice a lot of the mishandling of their policies. So, I mean, but yeah, I've seen it where people are kind of walking casually. If they are leaving to their car, they're walking very casually, looking at other stuff on the way out. I've seen that where it's like when you buy it, it should be a direct beeline to your car and get it either home or even into a safer container. They do have like around the deli cup is like a red tape.
Yeah.
But it's like if
so you can see it. Like that's what I'm saying. You can see it. Like And
that's everywhere probably in Pennsylvania. I mean, we're allowed to sell and vend venomous. I don't know all the laws or regulations for that. But I know you can't sell anything that's venomous in this state. And that's usually how it is in the state because of conservation, issues. So copperheads probably aren't allowed, and eastern like timber rattlesnakes or whatever they are probably aren't allowed either to be sold. But yeah, you can get gaboon vipers, Gabino, which is the rhino, and the gaboon cross,
which is my favorite. They're
different cobras, all sorts of stuff, right? So
yeah. But I do like this. I think Hamburg has some of the best supply.
Yeah.
Vendors. Like I think they have some of the best there at Hamburg. Have you been to Gettysburg recently?
I vend Gettysburg every show since they had their second show. So I went for the opening show to see how it was. Ozzy was there, so that was like a big attraction kind of pool along with a lot of other breeders that I really want to meet in person or I hadn't seen since like Tinley. Not that I ever necessarily introduced myself or knew of them, but I wanted to see them, meet them again. And after that, I realized how big that show was going to get. So I said, all right, I need a table from here on out before it sells out. And so, so I vend the Gettysburg show. That's 3 times a year. It's a really nice show. It's a nice location for like people coming up from like Baltimore, Virginia, West Virginia, that kind of southern area. And then it's not that awful to come from like Jersey or New York either, I don't suppose. But yeah.
It's not far from me at all. Being on this end of Maryland, because I'm in Fort Washington, so I'm right at the Alexandria line. So it's not far from me at all. So we're going to talk about this. We're going to get into this before we start to show the snakes, because I do want to kind of touch on this. So I've shared with Matt, and I shared with some of you the disheartening of being a not visual herper on social media, but a lifetime herper outside of social media, which relied on a lot of the history and the people who were a part of that history, making this for me what it is today, right?
Okay.
And having a podcast and not being able to get any of those people, and not just me, but a lot of people have tried to get some of those that's there. But in the honesty of it, like when I really think about it, I think about herping back then where there was like no drama at all. Like it was, and if it was very subtle behind a door in somebody's backyard type of drama.
Yeah.
We just hear about some of it today. You know what I mean? Type of drama. But now it's becoming like bigger and bigger on a day-to-day basis. Part of how I knew you was through social media, through YouTube. I knew you from your YouTube videos. I met you personally for the first time last year at Jeremy's. How do you think, and what do you think that we can do better as podcasters per se, or people in the community in general, to make those people to want to be involved in this social media driven reptile community today?
Probably the same way you were able to, eventually get me on here and be persistent.
I held you though.
Yeah, well, no, it's all good. I would just be persistent, and then maybe if you can get somebody that they respect on your side to kind of go with you into trying to get them to be more active, or even do podcasts to talk about their life experiences. Everybody has life experiences that are just going to like exceed what some people in the same realm of, like, let's say this hobby or whatever, could even comprehend sometimes.
Right.
So like if they could share some of that, like whether they've been on, I talked to some random guy, I don't remember when it was or where it was, my memory is crap, but he was talking about how he went to different like African countries and South Asian countries and just went herping across, and it's like, who are you? Like, wait, like, back up. I want to know more. And it was just some random dude, and I don't remember where it was, but he had some life experiences that I was like, wow, like, and you're somebody not even in this industry. Again, I can't remember where I ran into him. This is a few years back, but you triggered this kind of memory of that. And I think being persistent or finding somebody that maybe they respect in this industry to kind of piggyback you to getting them to come along, you know, whether it's on your show or some other shows, or even just to engage more within the community on Instagram or Facebook, I guess. I'm not on Facebook, so I don't know how the community is there at this point in time.
Right, we talk about that, but your reasons not being on Facebook is not less business and more of just one of those people who, as my husband say, I don't care to see what people ate last night.
I do. I'm always hungry 24/7. Like, I want to see food and snakes, and then more food and more snakes.
Speaking of food and steaks, bacon.
Yeah,
Bacon. Matt made this bacon, y'all, for the cookout.
Yeah,
so I will say over and over again, the best bacon I've ever had in my life.
Well, I appreciate that. It's kind of simple in a way to make, but it's just a buffalo. It's a buffalo candied bacon. So you just use like buffalo hot sauce and brown sugar. It takes a bit of a process that I won't explain right now, but basically cook the bacon and then you kind of baste it with some of the buffalo sauce. And then at the very end, you just cook the brown sugar in on top till it crispens up, let it sit for a little bit and it stiffens up just enough that you can eat it, but it's great. Yeah. I appreciate it. I'm going to have more at Jeremy's, probably June 1st, I think, or July 1st, whatever day his picnic is. I'll have more.
Yeah, July 1st. Make sure y'all get there early because the funny thing was we thought it was all gone. Then Matt, we didn't know that you made it. So Matt went over to the table, y'all, and he picked up the paper and we thought it was all gone. And then we saw that it was layers of this shit. Man, we came running. Like that bacon was just so good. I think that's all that I ate. Probably a piece of chicken, all of the bacon. I will take y'all. I ate all the bacon. My son.
Well, your chicken was really good too. Your bourbon chicken was really good. My son ate a fair amount of snacks there, and he was talking about it on the way home. But yeah, cookouts are always a good time to just kind of eat. I
think especially the way that, I think everybody contributes so generously. So it's always like, even the fruit, it's always nicely decorated. It's just such a good time. And I love that the guys in Florida do it all the time. Like they have cookouts and things like that. And of course the PA crew do it. All my Maryland breeders, I don't know where y'all at. Y'all can come to the PA ones with me if y'all don't want to do one in Maryland. But no, it's a lot of breeders in Maryland. But we all want to try to do something like that to try to make the breeders come together in Maryland more. Especially since like the Aussies don't come out to the shows and stuff like that. Because, he goes all the way to UK to have a good time.
I know. Yeah.
He does it because he likes to enjoy the trip.
Yeah, definitely.
Going to a Tinley for him is every step would definitely be, let's take a picture, which he don't mind, of course, but I'm just saying.
They're doing that right now over there, though. It's kind of funny.
I know. I saw it.
Instagram is like.
Did you see his post? So I was laughing at that because that's the first thing I could think of because when he posted a picture about him being on the flight, right?
Yeah.
On the Facebook page, everybody was saying, I hope when you get here, everybody can't wait in the UK to see you, take a lot of pictures. And I'm like, oh, it's not going to be what you think.
No. Nope.
You're known there too. Speaking of snakes, we're going to let Matt show us some of his animals today. Like I said, he's on Instagram, but before we go to that, Matt, when will you come back on YouTube? Why did you leave YouTube?
All right, so YouTube was a pretty fun little experience. So at the beginning of collecting ball pythons and just having like, you know, aquarium setups for my pets, at the beginning of that, I was like, well, let me just share my experience. So in research to trying to find how to house a ball python or what ball pythons typically, like doing all the basic research, you come across YouTube videos then, and then you find people like Brian Barczyk and Brian Gundy from For Goodness Snakes, and then some of the other, you know, heavy hitters from, let's just say 2015, 2016, I believe it was. And so I was like, let me just share my experiences, because I'm seeing some people struggle with certain things like humidity in glass tanks. So like I found a way that kind of worked. And then I, you know, just like to record feeding videos or something. And it wasn't like for the shock value that people do feeding videos for now. I had no idea, didn't care about likes, didn't care about subscribers. I was like, I'm just going to post some stuff. And then as I started,
monetized back then anyway.
What's that?
Were you monetized back then anyway? I mean, you had
no. So I believe you had to reach like 250 at first, just 250 subscribers, I believe, and then it jumped to like 500. Okay. So I started basically putting up YouTube videos around the same time Miguel started putting up YouTube videos, and then there was like a whole community, like Kai, for instance, was just putting up stuff. Maybe he was a little bit before me. I might have found him researching basic stuff, and I think it was, yeah, because I think I found some of his like rack building stuff when I was trying to build my own. So and so many other, there was about 20 or 30 of us that were like in close communication all the time, and we all were like within like 100 subscriber kind of range. Miguel started doing auctions for, I believe, snakes that he purchased that he wasn't aware he should have purchased, right? His beginning of building a business, he was auctioning off a lot of his snakes like almost weekly, and then he had an unboxing from like Justin Kovica like weekly, and he had so much content, and like I just watched him kind of skyrocket, and I saw he was doing giveaways and stuff, and some other YouTubers doing giveaways, so I started doing that to try and gain subscribers. And so like my first 100 subscribers, I did a giveaway, and then for like 250 or whatever, I was doing a giveaway, and I gave away a snake that I purchased. It was like this horrible experience. I purchased a snake to do a giveaway on, and it was trying to eat, I guess, and then it like regurgitated halfway, but like the skull or whatever was like stuck in its gullet, and like it eventually like passed away. I'm like, okay, this left a huge like bad taste in my mouth type of moment, and I'm like, I'm not doing giveaways anymore. Like I'm going back to not trying to impress people and do this and do that and try and
you were the other person.
Trend, yeah.
Somebody else said I'm not doing giveaways anymore. You were the other person. And okay. I definitely understand that. Like even when I think Keys gave the big giveaway, I'm in the background was like, nope, let's do this, do that, do that. Because you don't want that liability of giving somebody something and then something goes wrong. People seem to be a little bit less appreciative.
Yeah. And it just looks kind of, it looks phony, I guess. And like, I don't know. So it died in my care. So like I had to let the person know like, hey, this happened. And I made videos about it. So I, moving forward, I ended up a breeder in Philadelphia. He had like a YouTube channel. He was following me. He is like a big YouTube subscription following, but like he's been on for a long time. But he donated a snake then to give away for the winner of my giveaway. So it was like kind of really cool. The person still got a healthy snake, and all's well that ended well, but it just left a taste in my mouth. I was like, okay, I got to start reconfiguring what I'm doing and what I want to do it for. So I did. I started doing like herping videos when I would be at work, because I was working near this like giant lake and ponds and such. And I would collect things and show them off like in the meantime. And I started doing that. And then I started doing more of like show stuff. At some point I started getting locks and clutches, and then clutch cutting videos. And a couple years, I think I was doing it for like 2 years, maybe. Got up around like 500 subscribers, but I went out to Tinley in 2018 and I did like a 2-part series for it. And it kind of bugged me that like they both have over 100 views now, but like it kind of bugged me that I was doing this for 2 years. I was putting editing into it, and I was trying to get monetized. And so they jumped the number from like 250 to like 500. And then as soon as I got close to 500, they bumped it up to 1,000 subscribers. and then you had to have certain view time and all that other stuff, right? So I never got monetized, never really cared to at that point, and kind of was just like, you know what, this is just sort of a huge waste of time for what I'd rather be doing, which is tending to my collection as it grows and doing other stuff than recording myself, and then finding out nobody's really engaged in it as much as I expected it to. It's a grind, and now it's crazy because fast forward a couple years and it seems like there's a lot of really good podcasts, engagements in that sense, and nobody really had that going on except for like Miguel would go live to do auctions, which were pretty fun. So everybody was kind of doing auctions on random. So I didn't have enough to auction. I was worried about breeding rather than like, you know, selling off what I had. So again, a lot of people were more engaged in that type of viewing. So I just was like kind of at a point where it just wasn't for me anymore. And it was like, I don't need to do it. It's quicker to upload on Instagram. It's quicker to do stuff on Instagram. And I can take care of the rats or the snakes and other things. Work a little longer, whatever it is, you know.
I will tell you, if you look at YouTube though, 2015 compared to 2019, not just in the ball python community, but even in the retail community, there's so many people who were doing it then that were better than what we're seeing now as far as content. And I think that what's unfair, Matt, is that even though you didn't think nobody was paying attention, I was. Many people are. And that's something that inspires me. Like when I do videos, and I'll give you an example. There's sometimes I might post a video and it might have 60 likes in the 24 hours. But that same video in 30 days can have 600. You know, so it's important to keep in mind that, especially now with so many people coming to it, that the content is needed more. So people can get a variety. Because what's happening now is that you're getting people saying the same things. Like when I first started doing handling retakes without a hook, I'll use that for an example. There were some people in the retail community who was like, well, why would you show that? Don't y'all handle some of y'all's without a hook? I know y'all do. People should know that this is possible instead of us making them think that these are just big monstrous snakes. Now that you've seen me doing it, you're starting to see it more. You're starting to see people show how sweet these animals. For a long time, before Nicole Tisdale came on, and I'm just being honest, and it's one other older lady that I watched too, everybody made them look like they were monstrous in some kind of way, or you gotta do this and gotta move like that, and you gotta do like this, or it's gonna do this. And that's not the case. And so then I get these animals and I'm like, I'm waiting for the event. Not that saying that they're not big, large animals you have to respect, you do. But I'm putting my content out there, just like you want to show the side that shows them that they can be monsters. I'm putting the content of the reality of what they are for me out there. So someone else can get the same experience and not just think and handle them as monsters. So I say the same for you, like, and just anybody who does social media. Everybody is not going to show up all the time, but people are always watching. And so as long as you're putting out content that's favorable for the community, especially young herpers, because like the videos when you would go outside, and even some other people who do it now, those are the best videos for me.
Yeah.
Because you know what? I don't know what to do other than like playing when we were younger. You know, in the woods, you didn't care when you were younger. Yeah. Now I know what could be in the woods.
Yeah.
Those type of videos is necessary for so many of us as herpers, and so many for the younger generation, because that's another thing. A lot of children don't get to see all content. Like my content is blocked to anybody under 18. So we won't have all the regulations of what we can say, what we can't, you know, and things like that, or even the commenting. But there is a part of YouTube that should be showing young herpers that side.
Yeah, not the glorified type either. There's some big reptile shows or YouTube channels, I should say, that and even like, what do you want to, like, influencers of the reptile industry, right? That just go out and they do some stuff that I wouldn't necessarily do, and as Phil mentioned earlier, we need some more Gundy, right? Like the way Brian Gundy herps is the way I would herp, and it's, you know, flipping panels over in the woods, or, you know, huge bark, or moving a rock, whatever it is, and then treating the animal as if it's in its own home, right? Like, so respect it, and like, and there's people out there that, you know, yeah, you want to pick it up, handle it, and enjoy and engage with that animal for sure, but there's some people that are just like moving around sporadically, whoa, and it's like, oh my god, like, just
you're making the animal.
Like, just go away, just and I it's a pet peeve of mine. It's like the over the top stuff, and I was there, like I tried to do some stuff to engage and be energetic, and, you know, get my videos more electric or whatever it is, but again, at some point it's like, okay, this just isn't me. Like, I can't do this kind of fake over the top shit. And yeah, and I see it still, and it's like, it's just kind of like annoying to me. I was at Tinley in 2018. I had a gentleman next to me at another breeder's table, and I won't name names, but it's like they're talking about taking a YouTuber through their whole facility to get bit by, you know, the animals that you keep, and the reticulated pythons. And it's like, why would you do that with the way the laws are, and, you know, the protection that we, you know, all the, especially like the last year with, this is 2018, everything, so again, right? Last year alone with all the, with all the regulations, and it's like, why would you do that when you have a mass following? Why would you bring somebody in your facility to get bit? Like, what is the point in that? What's that helping? And so I have some like just irritations towards stuff like that, and it's just, there can be sour parts to this industry for sure. So
that's definitely respected. I mean, I'm not a fan of it either. I can honestly say though, the reason why I'm not a fan of it, because it's never happened. Out of all of them that I have, even these babies, it's never happened. Like, I've never had a animal act that way. Like, even, you know, because, you know, you get, well, wait till you breed. Okay, now I've read. Michael pulled the eggs. I didn't have to pull them. Michael was good at it.
To add to that story real quick, Nicole, at the end though, he did say, and he mentioned, like, he took the guy through his facility to get bit, and he said by the end of it, none of the snakes bit him. They couldn't get one to bite him. And it's like, you're going through this whole thing, but like, that's what you should be showing, right?
Exactly.
Like, and it's like, he's just talking, like, just to talk, and it's like, it is what it is. But yeah, like, so nothing happened with the animals, nothing happened with the person getting bit, but it's just horrible to see that type of stuff. And like, that's what really disengaged me from a lot of like the YouTube stuff, as well as just a lot of it that's on YouTube can be negative, can be just problematic for the whole industry or the hobby or whatever you want to call it, right? The world, animals in general, it's just not a good look. So
I agree. Yeah. And what's the harm in showing that they are amazing animals that do have very large teeth, but they know they don't have to use them.
Yeah.
I just don't understand that. But I do want to make sure that we see some of your animals. And we want to see the good stuff, Matt. Not the stuff that you don't show on Instagram.
I show almost everything on Instagram. So what do you want to start with? Do you want to start with some hatchlings, or do you want to start with, I don't have many this season, but and we have some larger snakes.
I think it was the last hatchling clutch you did post on Instagram, the very last one. And then like some of your favorites.
Okay, so yeah, so that clutch was a Pastel GHI Desert Ghost to a black Pastel trick female. And one of the babies, so two of the eggs went rotten. One was kind of punctured. I tried to help it out and seal it up and whatnot, and that one went rotten. Another one went rotten. So I had 5 eggs left. One of the babies was it was disfigured and kinked. So out of possible 7 eggs, I ended up with 4. But I can show those babies off. Pretty cool stuff.
And thanks for adding that, because, and I know you can still hear me. One of the things that I can tell you guys as a new breeder, and I shared this with Matt and the guys in the chats and stuff, is I am not going to do well with the challenges of it. Like, what I mean do well, like I know it's going to happen. I'm expecting it to happen. I just didn't want it to happen like with my very first class, so I got that prayer answered. But like how you have to get past some of the things that's going to be disappointing, like hearing Billy saying, sometimes they pair, amazing clutches and none of them survive, for whatever reason. Something happens to the incubator or whatever the case may be. The downfalls of it, I think, is another part of YouTube that we need to see that is not shown a lot. And I
have some stories with that too. Yeah, there's definitely some downsides to breeding for sure. Like, so this female here, I believe, is probably just a black pastel, but could be trick. It's not as extreme as like her mother or grandmother, I should say. At this, or no, yeah, mother. Sorry. And I have other black pastel tricks that have hatched out. But usually you get some chain linking at the back end, like you see here, along with the neck. Usually the alien heads will be connected, but and then up towards the top, you'll get like some of the pattern floating up and some pinching here. It's not your typical trick or hurricane kind of look with black pastel being involved, but you don't get like the loops opening up at the top. But this girl here, she does have a smaller eye as well, which you can't really see, but so it's like a slight little deformity as well.
So
this
Matt,
one here, I believe,
when you're talking, like when you're looking at, because you deal with combinations and genetics. So when you're learning genes, like how you just broke down that snake, because like Wiz is really amazing at it, Ray is amazing at it. When you're looking at that snake and you're talking about what the different patterns do, you're learning that because you're producing that snake over and over again, and you're starting to see those like genetic changes, right? Or you're just looking at a book and knowing what it does. That's beautiful.
So I did what I believe Austin does up there at Mutation Creation, and on World of Ball Python, which is like another website that you can
I'm still not on there. Like I try to stay away from the Facebook stuff, but I need to join that, I guess.
It's more of like a website, at least from what I remember, and you can just look up morph combinations, and then there's like pictures to kind of show you, so you're getting to see combinations you may want to make if you haven't seen one before, and then you could obviously make a world's first and have it uploaded on there.
Oh wow!
And but they had this thing on their app, which is like a morph identification like game, where you can put on like simple, medium, and hard, and then you can kind of just guess the genetics, and they'll give you like a list of like 4, and you click it. And so like I would just do that while I was at my son's taekwondo matches or whatever, practice and training, and I would just go in there and just look at different morphs and see how they interact and all that. And I spent hours on Morph Market and other places just researching, seeing what I like, seeing if it's been made yet, just running stuff in my head.
Market. I'll use the calculator, but a lot of times stuff, it's not, it'll show if it's blue, if something actually shows available and you can click on it and see it. But a lot, it's like with this retake class, hardly any of that was available.
So this here, I believe, is a black pastel GHI trick. Or the other one I had on was trick, but I believe this is the one with trick. Just see how the pattern's kind of all distorted. It's really kind of fighting against your normal GHI combo. There's some nice blushing to this that you can't really pick up. You can see it on the back, but these are all.
I can see it a little bit on the side too. The side that you're showing.
Yeah, but these are all 100% Het Desert Ghost. These 3 of them are male, and then the first one was a female, but. So I may keep a male or 2 from this clutch. I'm not too sure. I don't really like doing head-to-head pairings unless I have to. Like double head to double head is okay in my book. Head-to-head, I guess, is fine as well. But I really like to at least put one visual into a pairing when I do it. So this is what I believe to just be a black pewter. So black pewter is just black pastel. But this may have trick as well. I'm not too sure. You can see some of the alien heads are kind of joining up into the dorsal pattern, which is usually like kind of a trick indicator. And then some of the top of the patterning is narrow, but like these loops here would be like squished at the top. And there's some chain linking towards the tail, but I can't really guarantee it until it's probably paired with something else. So I got to remember the reverse of this camera thing here, but I really think this is a nice way to go if you want like a really silver color looking kind of desert ghost project, right? So I like the little dorsal striping and stuff on it. But this is the only clutch attached out. I'm waiting on 2 clutches to drop. They're like 21 days late right now, so just being patient with that. And then I'll have another female lay in about another 30 days. She's going through her pre-lay shed. But yeah, I'll go grab some more stuff. I don't know if there's anything you want to see, anything you guys.
The dark snake. Like I love dark
snake. I got a dark snake, sure. I'll get you a dark snake. Hopefully it shows up, but this is a blackhead GHI Het Desert Ghost female holdback here. She's got like the slightest, I gotta flip around here, slightest little like kind of like a ringer thing happening, but she's about to go in shed. Her belly's really kind of dark too, like nice gray kind of newspaper color, but
I love dark snakes.
So yes, that's a blackhead GHI Het Desert Ghost. I had the pastel version. I just put on my story today. She's soaking, kind of. She's in shed, but she's also like half the size of this girl here. Some of them are problem feeders at first. They kind of take a little while to get going.
Now,
when they do, I'll get another one.
What is the longest it ever took for you to get someone eating? Or when do you force feed, or how long do you wait before you force feed?
Oh, I'll wait a couple weeks almost, but I will try a fair amount during those weeks. And then I try to assist feed rather than like force feed, where I just try and get their mouth open and get the head in. Hopefully they wrap it up. Because I'll even try different rodents first before I even get into that. So like if I typically feed all my hatchlings, I'll just show this off a while. I typically get all my hatchlings on African soft furred, like fuzzy crawlers or whatever, or even like the smaller weaned, because it just depends on how big the snake is when it hatches, I guess, with them. But if they don't take that, then I'll usually go to like a mouse or like a hopper mouse or something like that. And if they don't take that, I'll wait a couple weeks. I'll try that again. So it's usually like, if they start kind of looking like they're not going to eat ever, maybe after 3-4 weeks, I will then do like an assist feed, with a frozen thawed like mouse or something tiny, and do that a few times. Usually I won't go to that extent if I don't necessarily have to. So this is a GHI Phantom Leopard Het Desert Ghost female.
Jesus, that's a pretty snake.
It's a little dark. It's like the gold, like if the pattern's a little more gold in person, like your kind of standard ball python color, and then the flames are they have a little less of that gray tone that's picking up on the camera. But so this is a GHI Leopard Phantom. I really like the Leopard Phantom kind of combo, the way it is, and I kind of got into that because like my 4th or 5th snake ever was a Pastel Leopard Phantom, and that thing was just like, it was kind of crazy. One of the videos I actually kept on my YouTube page, but this camera's supposed to focus on this snake.
Will's asks, do you attempt pre-shed or post-shed before first feeding?
I usually do it post. So that clutch I just showed off just recently shed, and the first 3 I fed. One of them ate, 2 of them didn't. So now I'll just wait like a couple days more, maybe a week or whatever, and try again with those. And then the last one that just shed like yesterday, I'll try her maybe tonight. But yeah, so I usually do it post shed. I don't wait like a week though. Like it may be as soon as they shed, maybe that night I'll feed them just to see if they'll take something.
So I think with ball pythons very specifically, most of you, or what do you start off with your ball pythons? Are you feeding them fuzzies from the beginning, or are you feeding them, offering them pinkies?
No, I never feed pinkies. Anything that has hair. So if you can get if you have large enough hatchlings, you should be able to feed it anything with fur.
Yes, that's what I noticed with the retics. They like everything with like I went straight to red pups, and they just started hitting them. Yeah.
So the one thing I've found, that's another like small pet peeve of mine, is I see some people feeding like pinkies or whatever, but if that's the only thing they can get, at a local pet shop that isn't, maybe the in-between rodent isn't there, right? Like something a little bigger, and the only other thing is something much bigger. You got to feed it what you can, and if they're eating, that's fine, great, right? You'll get some weight on them, and they'll eventually take like a weaned rat or something. But I usually try to make sure that I'm feeding everything with fur, at least. It just seems like the reaction's way much better than without. But so this is a black pastel yellow belly, het clown, pos het pied, and it's also possibly trick. But again, it's sometimes it's a little hard to identify trick with the black pastel, because there is chain linking all the way down this last third of its body. Some of the alien heads are like kind of up, but it's not as extreme as its female sibling. But yeah, so I was able to test a male out that looked like a piebald. I cut my clutch, and there was this crazy piebald looking snake in the clutch. And it looked piebald, and I knew it wasn't, right? Because I didn't know it was yellow belly clown to black pastel trick, and that was it. There was no piebald in the pairing, so I eventually got to send testing in before the testing went to Morph Market, and that male was het pied, and it was obvious. I'll bring him out next, and then from there I was able to then test the yellow belly clown male that sired the clutch, and I got test results that he is Y, and the reason why the piebald looking thing came out, that he is 100% het piebald. So my clown project just turned into a clown pied project, incidentally enough. But when you hatch something out and like there's question marks, like, oh my God, what is this? Like, you got to start finding answers for it. So I'll go grab him. He's pretty cool looking.
I was just saying, that's what I had with some of the retics. Like, I just literally went to different people and see what the different people stated, and they all said the same thing online, and then went to Morph Market, kind of still playing around with a couple of them, trying to figure them out.
So this is the male that triggered all the questions, and he basically has a full body saddle and not just like a ringer or anything, right? Like, so I'm like, what?
Were you watching Hair Down last night, Matt? Because
yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, they were. Billy was talking about that. So I can't remember the term. If Ray in here, he might remember, or Keys. But it was abnormal something. But it was basically saying that animal was not, even though it wasn't a visual pie, could still produce pies, but couldn't produce het pies, or vice versa. It was something really ortho. It was something something, but pretty much saying the same thing. So the animal, he knew it wasn't pied, but it could produce het pie. No, could produce pied babies.
I like to go for the camera, but
yeah. So but that animal is not pied.
Nope. But it tested 100% het pied, and then so obviously one of the parents pushed it out, the genetic pool. So
because they just talked about this last night. Anthropologist will.
You might be answering something else that was maybe.
I'm getting all excited like that's no anthropologist will. Will is so big.
grab something else here if I can. Find something kind of cool.
Antho, something like that.
I'm sure we'll all be Googling afterwards. This is a really nice male. He's more golden than he's kind of appearing, but this is a super pastel. What's that?
So super pastel, right?
Yeah.
Because I just said fire. What is super pastel?
2 copies of pastel.
2
So
copies
pastel,
of pastel. But
pastel.
that's not. So what is fire?
Fire is just it's an incomplete dominant morph, its own morph, I guess. It's an allele with vanilla and maybe disco. I don't know. Disco is kind of an odd one, and I'm not too brushed up on, but this is a super
offer that has really pretty bright yellows like that.
Yeah, this is a super pastel GHI double het desert ghost clown male. He's been available since birth, but
that's why.
He's been available since birth, and like a lot of not inquiries but clicks. But yeah, he's up to breeding size right now. But I think a lot of people just don't want to go the super pastel route, right? So,
but you know, I talk about it all the time. I love like even watching how Ozzy works pastel. Like pastel looks great in some other combos.
Yeah, I like it.
You put into some of the darker combos. I
really like it. It was so my first ever ball python was a queen bee, which is a pastel, lesser butter, and then spider. So from the very beginning, I had like 3 incomplete dominant genes that like nobody really buys anymore, with the pastel, butter, and spider in it. But I love that snake. She's so pretty too. But yeah, so I don't mind pastel so much, but sometimes you have to breed for what you want out of a clutch. And you know, I wanted some double het Desert Ghost Clown stuff to hold back, which I got, and decided to let the super pastel male go because again, sometimes moving forward, you want to work stuff that doesn't all have one gene involved, right? So everything would have pastel, but eventually I'll probably end up breeding this guy because like, why not? I mean, somebody will buy something with pastel in it at some point. But he's gorgeous. But yeah, I'll get some other stuff out. Maybe some other the yellow belly stuff that I have that came from the yellow belly clown male that's het pied is really nice stuff. It's really nice yellow belly stuff. So I don't have too much of that for sale, but I do have a bunch here that I'm kind of holding on to.
Let's see it. While Matt is doing that, I want to remind everybody to support US Ark Florida. Please. If you can. Support US Ark Florida and support our National US Ark as well. Stay in tune with what your local legislations are involved in and keep them in tune into what is going on nationally. So when they do show up to represent you in Congress, when it comes up to reptile conversation that nobody there really knows anything about, then you can be properly represented in your state.
Thank you, Phil. Thank you, everybody else for showing out today and kind of checking the live here with Nicole and viewing, you know, giving her the views, giving her the time of your day and my day, and you know, just hanging out here. But so again, the yellow belly clown male was just a really distinct version. So I always knew there was something else going on. I wasn't sure there was like another genetic involved or whatever.
And there it goes. Androgenesis. Androgenesis.
I'm not attempting it.
Androgenesis. There you go. Shout out to Wills. That's what it was. They were talking about the exact thing last night.
Okay. I'm gonna have to remember that one. Maybe I'll name him Androgenesis. So the yellow belly stuff, I wasn't sure. Now I know that, like, you know, it's het pied stuff, right? But this is my yellow belly kind of line, I guess. I don't want to call it a line. There's nothing special about it. It's just a really nice yellow belly. It's probably the het's kind of working, but the way my yellow bellies kind of come out are just really nice examples. really nice flaming. And talking to some guys, the guy I got my yellow belly clown male from, he kind of bought a bunch of stuff that Ralph Davis was getting rid of, I guess, that has like, I don't know if it's goblin, if that's the same thing as yellow belly, or if it's a type of yellow belly, but it's definitely a fun single gene to kind of look at, especially with all the flaming. I can kind of get some of it showing. A little more brighter, more golden orange kind of color tone to him off camera, but there's that. That's just a straight yellow belly. What's that?
I have a yellow belly hat clown, and I think she's really, really pretty. She's just a pretty snake in her simple form.
So that's the yellow belly. Then this is a yellow belly GHI het clown posset pied. They're hissing. They're so mad.
I like the browns, the golds on that one.
Yeah. I really like the expanded pattern. So that's something I thought we would eventually touch base on here too, is just like kind of working genetics to, you know, kind of create your best outcome with pairings or whatever. Because, you know, a lot of people I see, they're either not sure what to pair to a female when it gets up to size, and maybe it's just getting other ideas. But the way I kind of look at things is like, you really want a good distribution of pattern, tones, and then you know, how far can you push both of the pattern and the colors. But and then this here is a, you're not going to see it as well as I do, kind of. This is a yellow belly pinstripe from the same clutch, het clown posset pied, another male. This thing's a lot more orange in tone than it's really showing, but it's a little brighter and more orange, a lot more orange in person. That's just the yellow belly and then pinstripe. And then here is the yellow belly pinstripe and GHI. So all of it together, which made this. And this girl's, I have really good pictures on my Instagram of this girl. She's a little brighter, obviously a little more gold orange colored. But like, I called it the fall ball because it's like kind of like autumn colors, her tone, which you're not really going to get with this camera. But if you go on my Instagram, you'll be able to see some nice pictures of her, maybe a video or something. She's a really nice yellow dorsal. Again, a little brighter in person, or more yellow, I should say. For your head, you can kind of see your head there. But that's a GHI pinstripe yellow belly, at least as far as the pairing goes. That's het clown and posset pied. And I don't intend to really make clown pieds with any of these, more than likely, because I'm just not a fan of like the reduction of what piebald kind of does to a lot of genetics. And clown is so nice, and to reduce like that pattern of the clown, it's just, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of the clown pied stuff, but it's in the collection, and at some point maybe it comes out as clown pied, and we'll see. But yeah, so that's like the yellow belly stuff I'm working with.
So how many animals you think you have in your entire collection, Matt, today? Not including the
over there.
Not including the new head.
But
oh, okay, so it's a lot, y'all. Whatever they say, they don't know offhand.
Hey, there's too many,
It's
right?
after 100. It's a lot.
Well, right now I believe it's below 100, but let's see if there's anything else. Oh, here, let's get this girl out. So hatchlings and all, like last year, I think I was up around, and I had 10 clutches last season or last year. I was up around probably like 140, 150 total, or maybe even 170. I don't know. So this is a Firefly. This is a Pastel Fire GHI Het Desert Ghost female. And she's been paired with my Spot Nose Enchi Desert Ghost female, but she almost looks Desert Ghost. She's just so clean, super bright, a little more yellow than that, you know. I tried to get the lighting the best I could, and this is probably the best it's going to be as far as certain morphs to showcase it. But just a beautiful female that's right around, I want to say she's around 1,500 grams or so. But again, we're going to try and stretch some of the pattern with the Spot Nose. Enchi I'm not a huge fan of, but it's in the male that I have, so I have to kind of use it as I can. But I'd like to see a Spot Nose GHI even fire or just pastel or firefly, Spanos, GHI, well, any of that in the Desert Ghost form. But yeah, so I got a lot of Het Desert Ghost stuff just building up right now. Double Het Desert Ghost Clown. I could show off the GHI female and the pastel female of that.
Yeah.
But they're just simple, basic combos, but they're double Het for Desert Ghost and Clown. This girl's also around like 1,500 grams. She's on the low end, but she's been cooling down lately. So I'm starting to pair her to my pastel GHI double Het Desert Ghost Clown male, and not the super pastel one that I showed off earlier. So, you know, I'm trying to make some super GHI Desert Ghost Clowns with or without pastel, I guess. But I keep going the opposite way here. So yeah, so she's just a normal GHI that's double Het. Pretty cool project, I think, with certain stuff. So I have a spot nose Enchi double Het male that's growing up. He's a little guy. Yeah, he's growing up, so I'll probably eventually put him to some stuff to make some spot nose clown, Desert Ghost Clowns combos. Moving into like the late this season or next season.
Awesome. Oh, you're breeding your own rats and rodents, or you're supplying it to Chris?
So I do it like 100 different ways. No, I breed African soft furs. I have 6 breeding colonies and then 2 larger grow out tubs.
ASS. Like, I love ASS.
Yeah, I do too. A lot of people are like, I don't know if it's hard to explain, but they either love them or they hate them. And I think the people that hate them are because like they'll bite them, but I don't think they're feeding them the proper amount of like fat, crude protein, right? Like that they need. They're different than normal rats.
I've never been bitten. I can handle them. My only thing with the ASS is when you go to feed the hopper ones. I don't like how fast they can hop. Like, so literally I gotta put it in there and close it.
Yeah.
They're the only ones. Because they just, like, how can you hop like that, their fingers?
Yeah, they jump. They are jumping. Even when they're like the size of a tater tot, they have kick to them. You pick them up and they're trying to get out of your hand. Like, I'm going into like a cleaning bin, you know, and I'm like hopefully, you know, but yeah, I breed those, and then I go to Phil from Finger Snakes for my live rats and some frozen rats now. And then I used to, and still do, go to like, I'll get some from this guy Rick at the reptile shows in this area. A lot of my frozen rats.
Yeah, that's my number one supplier for if I ever have to, because I breed my own, but I breed just enough that I still like cleaning them, right? Because I don't want a whole bunch that.
Yeah.
That's the one I don't like cleaning rats. And when I say don't like it, it's not the rat. It's the mess. I don't like it. I know I don't like it. So I don't want to add, it's not like snakes. If I add 50 snakes, I'm gonna love it. But if I add 50 more colonies of rats, I would hate it. Or 10 more, you know. So I breed enough to feed all the hatchlings. And then I have this one little rack that we did for just the baby retics for as long as we have them here. And then anything else comes from Rick. My animals haven't eaten anything from anybody else other than Rick.
Yeah. Yeah, so I usually feed frozen thawed if I can. It just makes life easier and cheaper to buy in bulk and then feed frozen thawed. Yeah. But not everybody takes frozen thawed. And believe it or not every snake wants an African soft fur. They're not, you know, like candy or crack or whatever. They usually will take it, but sometimes they won't. And again, you just have to either try different things or be patient. And I try to get them because most of the animals that I produce, probably a majority are being sold. So I try to get them to where the buyer can purchase them and know that they're being fed something normal that they can get, whether it's, you know, frozen thawed animal or even a live animal that's near them, right? So not everybody can get African soft furs, and I believe California still bans them from being produced or whatever, but there might be other states. So I get the animals as much as I can off of the African soft furs. They're kind of just like they're a supplement for some of my holdbacks, but then also for mostly just like the hatchlings for the first like 4 or 5 meals. And then after that, I go right to like rat pups and stuff, just to get them at the right size. They're really good small size for the first few feedings, right? sometimes rat pups are way too big for and you'll scare your baby ball python from wanting to eat ever again. You know, they see this giant rodent coming towards them and just give up.
Right.
But,
yeah, I try to get once anything takes frozen thawed, I don't care what the size is, that's what it eats. Like I prefer frozen thawed for just so many reasons.
yeah.
But
It takes longer, but
when I started breeding, like I knew I was going to be having baby ball pythons. When I started buying hatchlings, that's when I started to get breed the live rats. Because other than that, it's frozen thawed. There's not a retake I've met that wouldn't take a frozen thawed anything, like anything.
So
Phil
a
said
couple
team
more
lace.
snakes. What's that?
Phil said team lace.
Oh yeah. There's so many highlighter type morphs, like lace. Desert Ghost is a lot more of like enhancing the stuff, and then you get like even vanilla. I think is an underrated, really like a highlighter type morph. So this is another one of those yellow bellies. But
what's his name? Windy City. He has some beautiful vanilla fire combos.
Yeah, I like the vanilla creams as well. They're just so for me, it's been tough selling like allelic animals, like vanilla creams and stuff, or babies that came from an allelic animal. So if it's either vanilla or fire, you can't really indicate, or yellow belly specter, like stuff like that, or yellow belly gravel. It's a little tougher to sell some of that because people think that like you can't either identify or they don't want to have one side or the other, right? So I try to stay away from too much of the allelic production here. Even the Candino stuff, the Candy albino allelic stuff that's like double het pied, or it's double het with the pied or whatever. It's a hard sell to really get somebody to buy one side or the other, not knowing whether they're getting a candy or an albino het. So speaking of candy, there's this female here that I've been pairing with. I want to get, so I started breeding my double het Candino, I should say, piebalds, just to kind of prove out what was het candy, what was het piebald. This is a candy female here. There's a lot of glare coming off of the light back there, but yeah, I can turn that down just a hair. But I was able to prove that the first clutch to be candy. There's still a lot of glare. But anyway, this is a candy.
When you bring it close so we can see it.
Yeah.
The camera. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's still, then it's getting kind of darker. But anyway, I started breeding this to my blackhead stuff because I want to make some blackhead candy combos down the line, down the road. Her tones are more like ultramelly monarchy kind of colors, so it's really hard to see. But yeah, so I'm gonna eventually work candy into blackhead and some of the darker combos, mahogany probably, stuff like that. This girl here is pretty cool. She's one of the only spider holdbacks that I've kept, only because she's got a pretty nice tone to her. It's a GHI butter spider, and she has the coolest head stamp, I think. Let me turn my brightness back up a little bit so the camera can pick up the details. But her head stamp's pretty cool. It should focus, but new camera. There we go. Trying. But she has a really nice tone to her. So she's almost like a bamboo color. If you're familiar with the bamboo gene. So it's like that light gray and that light cream color. But GHI, it's a female GHI butter spider that's het Desert Ghost. So I felt like this tone, this light gray tone, which you can't see, would be great with Desert Ghost. And maybe something else. I don't know what's going to pull more tones out of it, though, down the line. But still having like a nice, cleaner version of this, I think, with the pattern should be fun. But that's the only other, like, so I have the female I originally purchased. I'll get her out. She's huge. She wants to eat. No, we're not eating. She's a big girl. Woo! But yeah, she's big.
too. Yes, she is. She's pretty though.
She's like 4,000 grams. But this is the only other spider I have. But this is the original. This is the first ball python I ever purchased. And she has more of like a lesser butter bee kind of head stamp, but when she was born, she looked a lot more like a queen bee. But then queen bees don't typically have like this yellowish golden kind of color either, which you can't really see here. They're usually more like brown. So I don't know if it's just the pastels really pushing through, because there's a lot of yellows on her and whites. I'm not a big guy, but like she is really like a nice, chunky, solid. She's like probably like 4,000 grams, closing in on that anyway. But she's a great eater. She would eat probably a medium rat every day if I gave it to her, which I don't. But yeah, she's pretty big.
So, are you team Ultramount or team Monarch?
So I'm gonna probably make everybody in your chat mad, but I like Monarch over Ultramel, and I think they're both really pretty, but I think Ultramel is just a little lighter of a tone, and I like the higher contrast, the dark burgundy color over the lighter like purple color. I think there's a lot, like, you have Candino stuff and you have banana stuff and maybe one other genetic, but it's all that purple and orangish yellow kind of tones. And I've seen some Ultramel in person that looks stunning. I really like it, but I just think Monarch's just a little different, so I kind of like the other side. But I don't have either in my collection, so I'm probably Team Candy right now, I guess. Just based on what I have. This is just a leopard fire, but this girl's pretty big too. She hasn't produced for me yet. She's been paired a bunch over the last 2 seasons, but hasn't produced anything. She's around 30, probably like 3,000 grams, maybe a little less than that.
Theory on that, like if you have a female and you've had, let's say, 4 or 5 years, and she hasn't produced, what have y'all, from your experience, what you have seen has been the experience with that? Does it produce with somebody else after you ship it off? When you keep it, do it eventually produce at 8, 9 years old? What has been your experience?
Usually everything I eventually pair will go, and I haven't had anything go longer than probably like 4 years, I would say, without producing. I think it's about catching them at the right time, and I don't use an ultrasound or anything, but I think it has to do with like timing, and then whether they want to or not. I don't know. I haven't had that issue where I've had a really nice snake. Now, I should say that my pastel chocolate hypo Het Desert Ghost female took a few years after getting her up to size. Like, I think this is like her 3rd season I've been pairing her, and she finally went this season, but now she's like super kind of overdue on laying. But I think 4 years is probably about the longest I've waited, and I haven't sold anything off because it hasn't bred for me, but that's only because I haven't come across something that, it's been that long. But I think if she doesn't go this season, it's a nice female adult for somebody to try their luck with, I guess. So like I'm at that point, I guess, where your question comes in, where I'm ready to move on some snakes that haven't produced for me, but I have projects for her, and I can still work those projects right now with certain male that I have. So I'm still okay with it, but I'm at a point where a lot of my hets are now being bred, so I can finally make some really nice visuals. So like, if she doesn't have a het attached to her, even though she's a really high-end looking leopard fire, it's just 2 codoms. Is she worth really continuing forward with? She only is if I have like a season like this season where it's like minimal clutches and I can still work a project that's I would use in the future. So I've paired my spot nose Enchi Desert Ghost male to her to try and make hets, because I just think it, like, leopard spot nose is a no-brainer, and then you get fire and Enchi in there, does some stuff that I guess eventual Desert Ghost visual stuff would look nice. So if I'm producing females with her, great, whatever, for myself. But yeah, I'm at a point where a female like that, I probably wouldn't wait more than 5 years or past not having a project for her. So even if it's 2 years and she hasn't bred 2 consecutive, not like consecutive like she laid, but like if she hasn't gone 2 years, she should be able to. She's been over 2,000 grams for at least 2 seasons now. And so, yeah, so this season's kind of one of those where I'll probably put her up for sale or let someone else work that whatever project they have in mind.
All right, so we've been here going an hour and a half. I first of all just thank Matt for even showing his face, and hopefully we'll get to see him more. I will say, I wish that you will go back to putting out some YouTube videos, but if you don't, I get it, I understand. But I do think that although we deal with a lot, you know, as far as social media and, you know, some of the negative that comes from it, it's a lot of positive that comes from it too. And so all you can do is continue to put out the positive and hope that the positive people watch it, and that the negative people watch it, that they actually grab onto the positive and move forward. You know, I do think that so many people from 2015, 2016 who were very active on YouTube are not active now, and I think they are what we need in the community even more today, you know, alongside of the newcomers as well. So that would be my wish. But I want to say thanks to Matt. If anybody have any final questions for Matt, you can drop them in the chat over the next minute, and we'll make sure that Matt can address those. I do want to, Matt, you'll definitely be at Jeremy's July 1st, right?
I believe so. Yeah, I'm planned on it, so I should be there.
And then Angie from Celtic Balls, her and Jeff supposed to be driving up, so that would be nice as well. So
yeah, I think it's gonna be a bigger show out this time around, which is kind of cool. So
yeah, it was I don't know, maybe I was just having such a good time. It seemed like it was quite a few people this time. I mean, I'm just saying they ate all the bacon anyway. So this time though, we do know we need more bacon. Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and plan on making more. It's a long process for what it's worth, but yeah, for me anyway.
But to the people who were eating it, we don't.
It didn't last long. Yeah, I was pretty happy though. Like I was like, it's one of those things where you go somewhere and you're like, hopefully I like it. And I know it tasted good for me. Like I liked it, but you know, and it's like to find that like so many other people were just like hyped about it and enjoyed it. That's cool. So
it was. I mean, we were stalking the bacon. But guys, thank you so much for spending your Saturday with me and Matt. I hope everybody have an amazing, amazing day. I will be editing the clutch video. I will tell you again, so much was going on yesterday. It's going to be one of my less perfect videos, but I captured the moment. Okay, God damn it.
What are the pairings?
The first one that laid was the Inchy Champagne to the OD Leopard Calico Het Desert Ghost. And I want to see, I want to see what the visuals look like, but I did it mainly for the het suit.
So if you let go of any calico,
I love calico.
Ends up being tested. I don't know if you're going to test them or not for Het Desert Ghost, but if you end up that any test positive and you're letting go of any calico, especially if Orange Dream's involved, let me know.
Definitely will. Definitely will. And then the second one was the Ari Pastel Hot Pie to a blackhead gravel.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm betting on that one. And also, I'm sorry, she's Pastel Pie and Yellow Belly. Because she comes from a clutch. So she's an all-white snake, but she comes from a clutch where I actually have a sister who just laid. She's a visual pie, a visual yellow belly pie. So I'm assuming if she's an all-white snake, if I'm saying this right, and then her sister is a visual yellow belly pie, then she has to have the white one most likely has a percentage of yellow belly in her, right?
Probably, yeah.
For it.
Yeah.
Just can't see it. So I'm hoping that it definitely pushes. So what's that? Gravel gives you freeway or highway?
One or the other.
Those freeway.
I've absorbed so much.
It's a parkway, and I'm like, stop it! Stop it!
It's actually a runway, but no.
Oh God.
No, I've absorbed so many of the genetics. Like it's hard for me to keep track of some of the basic stuff. Like gravel is freeway, asphalt is whatever. No, gravel's highway, freeways. You just got to think of Billy, I guess, when you're talking about it. Asphalt
Yeah,
is a
so
freeway.
that's why I watch a lot of. That's why I watch
Asphalt.
a lot of Billy's videos is because of
Yeah.
what he did with Freeway. But I also like they all look the same to me unless you put them side by side. For me,
Yeah.
like I can see the difference in the streets, in the roads. I can see the difference in the patterns when you got them all side by side.
And
But
then seeing them in person is like a totally different thing sometimes too with all of them. But yeah.
wow. Yeah, so I'm interested in seeing, you know, all everything that I produce. I think I don't think I'm gonna be as excited about those supers in the retic clutch. I think that almost made me pass out. I was just over the top of that. But
That was a crazy clutch, crazy stuff. And that's the kind of, I guess,
insane.
yeah, when you have what 30 probably plus eggs, maybe a little less than that, but like you're gonna end up with some stuff in there, right? Like that's
I just wasn't
much.
so when you read the odds, right? I knew there was so many possibilities, but I actually hit at least one of every possible visual art anyway.
Yeah.
Some of them we just won't know. Like some of them probably got golden child. We just don't know. You know, like you can see what you can see in them, but they are all amazing. But
Yeah.
Everything that I paired this year was in preparation, was creating heads for me in preparation for the visuals that I had for next year, because those were my, like those are my desert goals, my quadruple hets and all that kind of stuff that I'll be pairing them to. And I did it all intentionally. And again, videos, like listening to all the videos of all the people out there, I came in differently. Like I wanted to spend the money. And then I wanted to raise my babies up too, though. That was the hard part. But now 2024 is the year that those females are also ready to go with those powerhouse males. And I'm so excited.
It's a lot. You're better than I am at this because like I stick to the ball pythons because it's a very simple process, and it's like I couldn't
Retics were easier.
I could see that, but like at the same time, it's just more size, more babies,
so I was
more
lucky.
space needed.
He only gave me 22, but yes, it could have been 45. It could have been 62. And I prayed for that. Like when I
and then think about the future when it is like 4 or 5 clutches maybe that you're hatching out. Like that's.
I don't think I'll ever. So I've already made a decision that I will never pair more than one, even if I go forward and breed more than one pairing of retics.
Okay.
Like I can't see how people.
Smart.
It's impossible. I'm telling you, like it's impossible. Especially because I like to put them in my hands. I like to touch them all. You can't do that, and then I have all this other stuff going on. It's not fair to the other animals. But I will say, though, that clutch was fun to see what comes out of. It was a lot of fun.
That's the best part of this whole thing is either watching like the pipping and then cutting, or cutting from the very beginning, right? Just seeing the new creation, right? And if the creation's there or not. You know, clown to clown, it's obvious you got clowns, but then when you're adding in codoms or another recessive and you're waiting and you have these odds weighing down on you and then you hit what you're looking for or whatever, it's like it's the best feeling in this whole kind of process. So
absolutely. And all it did was made it worse, because it took me from being happy about what I was doing to being like exuberantly ecstatic over it, and it's on a whole nother level now. My focus and everything is just not that it was already high intensity, but now it's like high intensity now. So.
Yeah, you're there. You've gotten them incubated and out, and now it's time to go to the next level, right?
Good. Yeah, it makes me. I told my husband, I said, because that was my fear. I didn't want nothing to go wrong. And what I mean by go wrong, like nothing that I had control over. I understand. I can't help what's going inside the egg. I get
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, that's all you want is healthy babies, and obviously to know that you did everything right. So it's really rewarding. But thank you for having me on. Thank you for asking me to come back.
It wasn't asking. It was nagging. I nagged you to come.
No, you nagged me very, very nicely. You weren't, past or anything. No, seriously. I haven't really had the drive to get on camera and do this and kind of push myself out, to do videos anymore. And you were able to kind of pull that back out of me, and at least for today. And I appreciate it though. Seriously, I like talking. I appreciate everybody that came out to the chat and to kind of watch, and whoever watches after the fact as well.
Yeah.
And hopefully everybody that I can either connect with through, my YouTube or Instagram or whatever, will eventually follow and continue to watch these lives every week. And if this process of setting everything up because my computer and stuff is all in my other room usually. So I brought it all in here, set everything up, try to get everything running yesterday so that I could do it in the snake room, have easy access and whatever. If that process wasn't so difficult, I might, think about doing more of these lives with other certain.
You have to do one of them in PA. I'm just saying before.
Well, I
don't get no bacon on July 1st.
I said to Jeremy, I said, look, I guess I'll have to do yours now. He's like, I don't want sloppy seconds. It's like, okay, whatever. I guess you don't get it then, Jeremy. So I don't know. He's got Phil coming on though. They're having a breeder roundtable. Well, it's like
that don't count. That don't count.
No. Maybe it doesn't count for sure, but they might have Phil up for a split second, and then he'll probably dip out. But they're having a PA breeders roundtable with a bunch of breeders that they're going to do, I guess, through this. And I'm going to probably try and watch it. I won't be on there. He didn't ask me, and I didn't want to really jump on that. And I think when you get too many people at once, it's whatever. It has to fit the right, kind of Hair Down Fridays is perfect for that. But not everything needs everybody to be talking over each other or
just. I totally agree. Hair Down is special. It's the party. It's the Friday night jam. Yep.
It definitely is. Yeah. So you might eventually see another interview with me. I don't know, but again, because the process is kind of I'm gonna take everything now, wrap it up, take it back to the other room, and keep my office space over there. I guess you want to call it that, and eventually maybe you'll see this backdrop again, and I'll be doing another live at some point, but we'll see. So I do have more animals to show off at some point, but not today. We'll kind of.
That's why you gotta come back on some more podcasts.
Yep. I got it. And when more babies hatch, that's the fun stuff. So.
We're here and keep doing the Instagram.
Yeah.
Someone just posted. I just want to make sure I don't forget. Happy Memorial Day to all the veterans. Every single wife who is a spouse of a vet, or every husband who is a spouse, the children. If there's any family who sacrifice a lot for this country, it's the families of our vets. Because as a wife, you're not getting my husband to die for this country. And so for those of you who make those sacrifices, I absolutely respect and adore you. I know it's not easy. I know that your home life is not balanced, and I know that your mental is not balanced when your husband or your wife is over in these countries fighting a war that they did not start. But we do understand that it protects us who's over here sitting comfortably in our homes, and we appreciate you. And I hope that someone does something amazing for you today. I know that our country should and could do more for you. But today, I hope if you see a vet right here in Fort Washington, this is one of the best days. The rolling thunder comes through. It is one of the most beautiful presentations of symbolization of our vets, and they go all the way from here down into DC. They leave the Harley Davidson. It's a beautiful, beautiful ceremony. I just can't say enough. Thank you. And enjoy your day some way, somehow. If you're not home with your family, you're over in one of those countries, I hope that the platoon is doing something amazing today that makes you guys just feel a little bit more appreciated for the lives that you're sacrificing every moment. Thank you. Thanks, Bolster. Tonight, 10 p.m., Sophisticated Ignorance, which is Wiz Constrictor Show. Tonight, another good
show. I catch a little bit of that, but I'm usually in bed by then.
This is amazing. So am I. But I will tell you that I literally laugh so much that I'm up. And I can hang. I've hung all the way to the end, a couple of them, but it's hard for me to stay up late at night, especially when I had grandkids, because they ran me out during the day. So once they settle down, it's moving I want to settle down, but I do try to lay in bed and watch that one. So I definitely understand that. But Man, enjoy your day, and I appreciate
Same to
everyone.
you.
Amazing one.
Thank you so much. Yeah.